Joe Siracusa joins us, the Dean of Global Futures at the Faculty of Humanities at Curtin University. Joe, thank you so much for your time. We know it's a different time zone and it's a Sunday as well. Does this undermine American credibility as the driver of the ceasefire negotiations happening in Doha?
And I think this finishes American credibility. America has held itself out as an honest broker over the years in the Middle East, but no one believes America. I mean, Americans have always stood for the sanctity of human life, but the arithmetic doesn't add up. You know, you spring 4 hostages, you kill 200 people, you probably wound 400 or 500 others. I mean, you can't justify this. But this looks like to people like here the ends justifies the means, and of course. Biden has now, I think, permanently alienated the younger voters in the Democratic Party and increasingly the non-white voters, particularly the NAACP and others have argued recently that this has to stop. And I believe the United States was in a terrific position to use its diplomatic power in the beginning to bring this to a halt. But the Israelis weren't listening. And at the end of the day, after 8 months, President Biden has given Prime Minister Netanyahu a free hand to do what he wants to do. And I'll say this too. I mean, I could see the despair of the Palestinian people here. I mean, it is clear from what America says and does, what Israel says and does, what the Europeans says and do, is that we clearly live in an unlawful world where everybody's writing their own rules as they go along. I mean, the Palestinians can talk about all the wars, the laws of war and all the rest of it, but no one's paying attention to them. And in America, no one's making any sense out of Joe Biden. And what this tells me is that I think Biden knows he isn't going to get a second term, or he knows he's getting old or he's not going to make it or whatever. And I think he wants to give Netanyahu as much rope as he can to finish the job. I don't think Netanyahu has to show up and for that joint address to Congress. He already has Congress locked up. What Biden would like Netanyahu to do is finish this off one way or the other. But I'll tell you what, the United States will never recover from the stain on its foreign policy in the last 8 months. It could have done more. I think everybody could have done a little more, but I think the killing has got to stop. And, you know, and if I were a Palestinian, I wouldn't know where to turn next.
Joe, you may have seen the reports that the White House is at odds with a group of Arab nations who collectively have been trying to come up with some sort of longer-term solution. But you've already mentioned the fact that there's an election coming up in November and the incumbent in the White House may change. In terms of a longer-term solution, most people think that nothing can happen, two-state solution, without American backing. So does, therefore, the future of a two-state solution actually depend on what happens in November?
I think it does. Now, if Donald Trump wins and he's 6-5 favorite to win the election, I think he'll let the Israelis have a free hand. Donald Trump doesn't really believe in a two-state solution. To be fair to him, I don't think he knows what it is, as a matter of fact. So there would be Arab pressure on him to do something. And with President Biden, if he were to hold office, I don't think he has the moral wherewithal or the support from the American people, the American Congress, to install or to begin a two-state solution, which has to be the problem. And let me just say finally here, when you can't solve a problem, whether it's civil rights or human rights, you have to have a symbolic solution to a problem. In America, it's the 14th Amendment. Everybody's equal. But, you know, we know not everybody's equal. And I think Americans would be desperate for some kind of symbolic resolution. But the Palestinian Authority is not buying this, and nor is Hamas. And at the end of the day, Hamas, while it did not win the war in Gaza, it has held off the Israeli Defense Forces to a draw. And so it's not going anywhere. And the Israeli leadership right now wants to finish off Hamas, which of course is a dream and will only prolong the war. But I think the Israelis have a Pyrrhic victory here, is they may have had their hostages back, but the price they paid for it is long lasting, and I think it's indelible.
Joe, we always appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Joe Siracusa.
Okay, thank you.